Backed by the public investment fund, specifically the Saudi Arabian government, LIV Golf has been subject to a lot of debate. But now that the golf season is now ended, it looks like LIV is finishing on a high note. The team's tournament has the biggest prize money ever in the history of golf, $50 million. Let's get into all of this and more. First up, let's look at the $50 million purse. $50 million is a lot of money. LIV's season-ending team championship was just announced, and it looks like they're already making their mark, at least where the money is concerned. ESPN just reported that the golfers are competing for the biggest and richest purse in the history of any golf tournament, and it sure turned heads. The biggest prize at the PGA Tour or any other majors gave it around $15 to $20 million, and when you compare it to $50 million, there's a huge difference. This is LIV's first team championship, and it's a big deal that they have to spend so much money on the prize. We still have to keep in mind, though, that this is a team championship, which means that the team that places first, or even second or third for that matter, is going to have to divide the money. Even then, it's a lot of money. From what we're hearing, each team will have 4 players, and the total prize for the winning team is a staggering $14 million. That's $4 million per player. Even though the individual payout is lesser than certain major tournaments, it's important to remember that LIV is new to the game. They're not even recognized by the official World Golf Ranking yet, but if things keep going the way that they are right now, that day isn't too far behind. Next, what's the tournament going to be like? We've looked at how big the purse is, but now it's time to move on to some other details that the ESPN and Golf Magazine have released about the actual tournament. The season-ending team championship is going to be taking place at the end of October from the 27th to the 30th. It's going to be held at Trump National Doral right outside Miami. The team championship is going to be played across a period of 4 days as a match play, head-to-head knockout playoff. The team series champion, which is the winning team, will be announced on the final day. There will be 2 individual match play contests and 1 pair match play contest. Pretty interesting so far. You must be wondering how many teams are competing on this thing? Well, the answer is that there are 12 teams, each consisting of 4 players. The 12 teams will be seeded and ranked from 1 to 12 based on a shootout, which will take place right after the player draft. The top 4 seeds are going to make it to the quarterfinals, and rest will be focused on competing in the qualifying rounds. What makes this tournament more interesting is that each team will have team captain, who will engage in a nearest to the pin style shootout. This is what's going to determine the seedings. It's great to see the LIV is trying to innovate and bring about a big chance in the world of golf. Followed by LIV and its fair share of critics, it's pretty clear that longtime loyalists of traditional tours like the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour are probably never going to come around and accept LIV Golf. In fact, most of them are still in denial about its impact. LIV's in the middle of an antitrust lawsuit, and they just released their revised rules and regulations, which were recently approved by a U.S. District Court in California. Soon after, ESPN reported everything they knew about the team championship, and a lot of players on the PGA Tour aren't too happy with the latest news. One player even went as far as to say that what LIV isn't golf anymore, it's a circus. He also said that it's tacky and lame of LIV to pull off something like this. And this opinion probably isn't limited to this one player that the reporter from ESPN talked to. Legendary players like Tiger Woods are also very much against LIV, though so far they haven't commented on this whole ordeal yet. LIV definitely shook the world of golf once for the $50 million prize money was announced, and since the announcement was just made, we can expect a lot of influential people in the world of golf to react to it. Keep an eye out for that. Let's take a look at Greg Norman and Adam Scott. Norman wanted to form a rival tour to the PGA Tour since the early 90s. He's only just got the backing to execute his plans, and it makes a lot of sense why he made a lot of enemies really quickly. The Australian golfer spent over 300 weeks as the world #1 back in the 80s and 90s, so it's fair to say he knows the game through and through. He's not just a golfer though, he's now retired and probably one of the most successful people in the entire world right now because of his deal with LIV. He had a vision and he went for it. A lot of fellow Australian players have joined LIV, and it seems like Norman is the reason for that. He has a strategy and it's been executed perfectly. Just a few weeks ago, Cameron Smith announced that he's joining LIV after winning his first major. The 24-year-old dodged the question for a while, but it was expected. A lot of other young Australian players joined LIV, and it's looking pretty good for them right now. Now that we have some background on Norman's history and his strategy, let's get into Adam Scott. The 41-year-old was closely monitored by Norman and was even world number 1 back in 2014. It really would have been ideal for Norman if someone like Scott, who has the experience and expertise, could join LIV. He's really been wanting this for a while, but Scott has apparently refused. Finally, what's all the noise about? We've grown used to the closest golf buddies becoming rivals overnight after LIV Golf was announced. It seems that people expected the same thing to happen between Scott and Norman because he wasn't joining LIV for the time being. However, recently, Scott finally spoke up about what he thinks of this divide in the world of golf and said that contrary to popular belief, LIV Golf isn't pure evil and could actually be pretty great in terms of switching things up and innovating things in this largely traditional sport. It's an interesting take because most players just pick a side instead of taking a balanced approach similar to Adam Scott's. The Australian also confirmed that he's still close with Greg Norman because people were speculating they haven't been speaking. This guy seems great, taking everything with a good sense of humor. He even made a cheeky comment about Cameron Smith, who allegedly has a $130 million contract with LIV, to make Scott an offer of his own. In the end, though, we're glad that Scott and Norman's relationship has been unchanged ever since LIV rocked the waters. It's great to see some of the best golfers to ever come out of the Australia unite. Moving on to other news, first up, Jay Monahan shuts down all speculation. The PGA Tour's always resisted change because they've enjoyed the hold that they have over golf. However, LIV just came into existence and whisked a lot of their players away so suddenly. Of course, the PGA reacted in its own way, suspending a lot of players who joined the Saudi-backed league, even going as far as to take away their parking spots. But nobody really imagined LIV to become as successful as it was. With so much drama surrounding the whole thing, it's surprising to see that against all odds, LIV is still standing, and very successfully at that. And now it seems like everyone's making their peace with the fact that LIV isn't leaving anytime soon. And a collaborative approach is necessary. The commissioner of the tour is still pretty resistant, though, and just flat out shut down an interview who asked about this, saying it's not in the cards. That's it. Up next, LIV versus PGA lawsuit. It looks like the PGA Tour isn't really holding back because they just filed a lawsuit counterclaim. The old tour has accused LIV of encouraging players to breach their tour agreements and cynicism. The counterclaim also says that the Saudi government is using LIV as a way to improve its image. We can only wait and see how this pans out. Finally, LIV Golf match is airing on Fox. Apparently, LIV and Fox are finalizing a deal that would allow golf tournaments to stream on US cable television. Most deals like this involve the sports company being paid by Fox, but apparently, LIV is not being paid. If that ends the deal being finalized, it could be seen as LIV's failure because people aren't interested in the matches otherwise. Let's wait and see how this pans out. And that's a wrap for this video, my friends. What do you think of LIV's season-ending team championship with the biggest purse ever in the golf world? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.